Now using size 13 socket, I'm gonna undo these two bolts that hold the caliper to the cradle. Now, because of the hose, because that hose is on the way, I can't securely fit, as you can see, and I don't want to bend the hose, obviously, so I'm going to use one of these spanners. And just do it with a spanner. Now, before we take this off fully, I'm going to use a screwdriver, and I'm going to retract this cylinder inside of the caliper, piston inside of the caliper. I'm going to retract it back. And to do that, I'm going to use a screwdriver, and I'm going to use this slot here. Just do it in a minute. Just going to free this side, still leave the bolt in there. So screwdriver, this slot here, and I can see the edge of the old pad, and I just gently prise it and slide the caliper. That's it. By doing that, we actually pushed the whole caliper over, and that retracted our piston back in. So now, I'm just going to, with a wire brush, clean up the inside of this caliper. Lots of brake dust. I'm going to use a bit of wire so I can suspend it up against the suspension or spring. Hook it on the spring so it hangs up there whilst you're doing the rest of the work. because you don't want it to fall and put pressure on this brake hose. Now we have full access to our pads. You can take the pads out. We can pop these clips off, these guides, slides, little stainless steel. You can clean them up as well. This moment I'm gonna inspect the sliding pins and little boots. They slide freely and nice. Boots are not damaged, so I'm not gonna attempt removal of them because you always run in danger of splitting the boots, then you have to replace them. Whilst it's up like this, it's nicely attached like in a vice. I'm going to use opportunity and just run a bit of wire brush around it. Now I'm going to take off the cradle of the caliper, and for that you're going to need T55, it's a Torx fitting or star, and I'm going to put it on the socket like that on my breaker bar, and you've got two bolts, star fitting on the back. Yeah. Crack one open. Let's try the top one. Yep, makes a bit of noise. Now, instead of breaker bar, what did I do with it? Aha, yeah, right in front of me. I'm going to put it in socket a bit faster and just take it off completely. If you're just changing pads, you don't need to do this. You could slide all pads out, clean it up, everything a bit, and then put it all back together. Literally 10-minute job. I always take opportunity if I'm taking the pads out, jacking car up, I might as well sort the discs out, clean it all up, put a coat of paint, lubricate all that needs to be lubricated. Just makes everything look nicer and last longer. Right, this is the cradle as it is outside, like this. You can just put it away with the car, and with a wire brush I'll clean it up down there and just take all that sooty brake dust off. Now we have on this side here, you got two T30 star fixings. I'm going to take them out. Right, yeah, you can see it good. Now, it's a little screw and T30 bit. When I work like this on cars around the house, I like to have a radio on, some music. And the problem is, as soon as there is any music going on in the background of the video, you have these copyright claims. And even if it's like faintly in the background, oh, we can hear so and so music, you can't have that. and they literally ban your whole video. They put copyright claim on the whole entire video just because of one little section where some music is playing in the background. Now, some cars, if you just tap it, disc will pop out because nothing holds this disc apart from just being pretty much seized on a hub. So to remove it, you can tap on the edge and rotate. And you can tap around here. Don't tap on the disc on the side. There you go, popped off. Now, to avoid doing that, what happens is this section of disc here gets stuck and seized up against the hub. This is hub. So to avoid doing that, we're going to apply, during assembly, we're going to apply some nice even coat of copper grease around it. So when this disc goes back on, it's not going to seize up. So when next time we're removing it, it's going to be easy job. Now, the disc has got a bit of lip, so I'm going to use a small angle grinder and just take that lip off. You can use a file, it will take a bit of time, but with a little angle grinder, just to even up this lip. I'm not going to do any work on the surface, and I'm going to do the lip on both sides. Now actually, before we sort the disc out, I'm going to clean up this area and do a bit of spray painting, just coat it all up. I'm not going to spray paint this section because I want that clean so it doesn't seize up. Just all these parts. Caliper. We're not making showroom piece, so it doesn't have to be spotless. As long as we take all flaky stuff, major dirt, major rust. And we'll do same with this cradle. Can you see that? That's a bit better. Take major dirt, all that aggressive dust, brake dust, if you got any rust, that flakes, just take them loose flakes off. Doesn't need any special treatment or anything. Cast iron piece, quite resilient. Now I'm just using from Toolstation satin black industrial paint, good shape. on here. See that section? That's our caliper now. Inside of the caliper. Outside of the caliper will be done once we put it back on. So while that is drying, I'm going to sort this disc out. Now we have two choices. One is to use a rigid grinding disc, another one is to use floppy sanding disc. I'm going to use the rigid grinding disc first and then finish it off with floppy sanding disc. Right, now first thing, I'm going to put this back on. The paint is all dried out whilst we've been de-lipping the disc. You go just copper grease and apply a bit of grease on this flat bit of the hub. Make sure you never get any grease on the brake pads or brake disc, because if you do, then it's not going to work, because it works through friction, and if you apply lubricant there will be no friction. No friction, no braking. No braking, that's dangerous. So also I'm putting a bit of grease on these holes where the wheel lug's gonna go, just to stop everything from seizing up, so that they're all parts prone to seize. Now I'm gonna put disc back on. We got these two holes here, they will go to these two small holes. That's where our little Torx screws went on, these tiny ones. Just put them back same way as they came out. They need to be tight, but not super tight, because they don't hold the whole assembly. They're just holding disc there until you doing work on the brakes and until you put wheels back on, because when you put wheels back on, the main wheel lugs will go all the way through into the hub behind and sandwich all that together. So next step, we can put our cradle back. Looks nice. You can read all the letterings and codes, and it says Bosch on it. It's made by Bosch. So that is with these big T55 screws from the back. I did mention before some videos, if you see a bit of like red or blue paint on it, that's a Loctite. It's almost like a super glue kind of compound that gets put in to stop bolt from undoing itself. It's not necessity. If you tighten it tight, it should not come out. The biggest danger with Loctite is if it's applied too liberally, too much. It makes problem of removal next time you need to remove it. So I sort of go old-fashioned way and just tighten the all bolts and nuts manually. Right, now I'll put that bit onto my breaker bar and tighten them manually. So strong enough, tight enough, but without breaking the tool or part. So you need a bit of feel for it. Okay, that's done. Now we got our little stainless guides. Bit of wire brushing, because that's where our brake pad actually glides on it. So we're going to lubricate that as well in a minute. So put them back in the same order as you took them off. There. They really can only fit one way. So even if you forgot how you put them, how you took them off, you can always look at the other wheel, or just gently try this way, that way, and they will clip. They will clip in place. Right, now I always apply a tiny amount of copper grease on these sliders only. Make sure it doesn't go onto disc. We don't want it on disc. Don't apply it liberally, apply it sparingly. Doesn't need a lot, just a little bit. It helps our pads to glide freely on it. So now we can put new pads on. Simply just come on to these guides. They can freely slide and guide themselves on the disc. That's that part done. Now we can put our caliper back on. Just see if it can be all seen good. So just need to support the caliper. Take our wire to put up that was supporting the caliper, and then put it on. Now if it needs a bit more compressing, you can just use existing structure just to compress the piston a bit more. So oops, I think I'm gonna just try to compress a bit more. So use my screwdriver against again, just a couple millimeters more. So there you go. Caliper is on. And we've got these two M10 bolts. Need to be screwed back into the sliders. Now these ones, you don't have to over tighten them, just make sure they are tight. Now inside of this caliper is already been painted. I've put a coat of black spray paint. Just gonna extra bit of cleaning. We've already done that. External painting. Don't paint the disc or anywhere there, just paint the caliper itself. Now I can start the engine, turn the wheel in line and put the wheel back on. And will be pads and the disc change. when you're tightening the wheels, always go for opposite. So then one, then one opposite that, and one on the side, and then one opposite that. You can just hold the wheel with one hand, with the other hand just tighten it up a little bit so it's hand tight. Always do the opposites. So we did that one, now this one. I'm gonna go on that side. And then this one here. Right, now you can't tighten it normal because wheel is off the ground. This is not rear wheel. If it's rear wheel, it would have handbrake on. So we're going to lower it down now. The wheel is solid, secured, but not fully tightened, safe for driving. So first, a couple pumps on. Let me just. Right, a couple pumps on the jack to release the pressure from the axle stand. Remove the axle stand and then lower the jack. Now we can secure our wheel nuts. So we got a locking one. I'll do that one last. So I'm going to do these two first, then that one, and then locking one. Because you can't apply enough pressure on locking one really as you can on these others. Now we know it was tight. Let's see now. Oops, done a bit too much on it. Popped out. So let's go back to first one. One opposite. One next to them. Tight. And the locking one. That's tight. Don't forget to remove locking nut adapter. It's important. Right, this wheel is done. Now let's go to other side.